Hello and welcome back to the Simplifiers podcast, where we take topics either in business or in life and simplify it. We also like to talk to really smart people all over the world who have one little thing that they could help us simplify in our life. And let me just say, Phylecia has one really big thing that we need to simplify as business owners, as creative entrepreneurs. So I am so delighted to welcome her to the podcast today. During her 5-year span of getting rid of $25,000 in debt and managing to increase her net worth to over $500K, plus leave a 6-figure salary job to start a business, Phylecia has realized that being a millionaire does not happen overnight, friends. As the CEO of Keep Up with Mrs. Jones, LLC, creator of Budget School and a premier business financial education platform, and the host of the Budget School podcast, Phylecia is the savvy go-to budgeting nerd, speaker, and trainer of our dreams. Let's just say that. She thrives on changing the world one budget at a time and is opening the doors for entrepreneurs to have that much-needed wake-up call to get serious about managing money and knowing our numbers. I'd like to welcome to the Simplifiers podcast, Phylecia Jones. Hello, Phylecia.
Hey, Mary, how are you?
I am really, really well. And let me just say, when I saw you at a conference a couple of months ago here in the UK, you were talking all about how to wrangle your personal finances and your business finances. And let me just say, the room was so uncomfortable. It was awkward. And I don't think it was because you're a horrible speaker, because I know you're an excellent speaker. Why is this so hard for people?
You know what? It's so interesting because when I did that talk, I felt like I had to work really hard on stage, but I had so many people who came up to me afterwards. I say that I probably now know about 20% of the room's financial issues because people felt compelled to tell me everything during lunch. So it was great. But you know what? We don't like talking about money because it's like that little personal shame in our life. And we believe that it tells something about us. It says something about us and how we live and how we can't do and what we can do. So that's the shame around it.
Why is that? Like, it's so interesting to me. We think about all aspects of our business, whether it is marketing, whether it is sales, whether it is operations, new product development. When you start talking about finance, people just clam up. And I will be the first to admit, I kind of clammed up as well. Like, why do we have such shame behind all of this? What do you think's really underneath it?
You know what? It's a little bit of everything. Is how we grew up with money, our environment, how we see money, how we were taught about money. Some of us were taught that all money is evil. Some people were taught that you're bad to make it. Then we have the other spectrum, like, hey, I love making it. Or it's such a weird thing. And it's all around our belief system with finances. But it all has to go back to how we grew up and how we were raised around money, because I wasn't raised around talking about money. I mean, you know the basics of getting a checking account and keeping up with things, but you don't talk about it for real.
Yeah.
Even though we wear our money and we drive our money, but we don't talk about it at all.
Well, let's back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your childhood growing up and what led you to now becoming a money expert.
Well, it's so interesting because I think I fell into being the money expert. The way I grew up with money, I call it the have some, spend some. You know, if you have it, you spend it. And it really came to head when I got married, and my husband and I, because I love travel and I honestly will do just about anything to get on an airplane to go somewhere. And we had all this money sitting in a savings account. I was like, ooh, they have flight deals to Iceland. And he was like, well, we have no money. I was like, but we have money in savings. He's like, so yeah, we have no money. I was like, okay, I don't understand this whole thing here. So he was just like, savings is for savings. I was like, no, savings is for spending. He's like, no. And I was like, okay, let's sit down for an entire week and figure out our money lingo. Because the way I did grow up is if you have savings, you spend it. and you just figure it out as you go. You save depending on what you want to buy. But yeah, there was no long-term thinking about the future, growing wealth or financial freedom that a lot of people talk about now. And it really came to head when I had a job. I worked for the U.S. Navy as a computer scientist and systems engineer. And the beautiful thing about working for the Navy with a computer science degree, they give you a lot of money coming out of college. And living in San Diego on the beach, I spent a lot of money.
I can imagine.
And had a lot of fun. And it just took some other huge things in my life to turn it around to say, you know what, I need to fix this. And the way I got into being the expert is for fun. I used to do budgeting spreadsheets. That's how lame I was. So there you go.
You and I are like kindred spirits. Can I just say this podcast episode just makes me so happy. I love to do budgets. I love to do spreadsheets myself. But why is it? Why? And I want us to simplify. And like you say, wake up and stop sucking at budgeting. So break it down to us. What is the very first step for us to do in order to wrangle our personal and business finances? First step.
What I tell everyone is to acknowledge that money exists, especially as business owners, because I call it the shuffling papers. And for those of you listening, you won't be able to see my hands, but it's we move papers around on our desk and I'm busy. I'm helping people. I'm busy. And I tell all of my business owners, one, you have to acknowledge that money exists in your business and it is a part of the business. You need money to keep your business going. And you also need to make money because hopefully we're not all running businesses just to be solo volunteers. That's not as much fun. I mean, you can go volunteer. They give you awards, unless you give yourself awards and things like that. But you need money for that, too. So the very first thing is just to acknowledge that your finances exist. That's it. I tell people, don't go and try to save the world. Just sit down here, acknowledge that you need to do something about it. And then the next thing that I always put into place is the 1st and 15th system. 1st and 15th, and this is just the wake-up call. The first and 15th of each month, I tell everyone to take 1 hour between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., and I have a really good reason why, between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., and really just look at the overall financial picture of your business, your life, your personal finances. And that's it. You know, don't try to save the world. Don't try to get too evolved. Just kind of like, all right, here it is. It is what it is. And when you start that system, these emotional tugs that we have, they start to go away a little bit because you're just like, all right, money's here.
Yep.
Here's 1 hour. Stare at it. Just stare at it. Then you can close the laptop and move on to something else. And we're just easing into this process because you're going to have to learn how to manage it and pay attention to it on a regular basis.
So how do I do that, like practically in the 1st and 15th? And I guess it really depends on where I am as a, kind of doing my bookkeeping. Am I a person with a box full of receipts and I'm literally playing them out on the table? Am I pulling up my QuickBooks and like understanding ingoing, outgoing? Like where's the starting point?
So what you do on the 1st and 15th, within that 1 hour, I actually tell you to go through just small chunks. Don't look at the entire life yet, but just look at what you did last month and ask yourself, how much money did I spend? How much money did I make last month? It's like, keep it really, really simple.
Yeah.
You know, don't look at all the debt and who do I need to pay? No, ask yourself, what did I spend? How much did I make? And then when you come to the current month, ask yourself, what do I think I'm going to spend and what do I think I'm going to make? And then with us business owners, we have to fill in the gap of how is all of that going to work out? How do we go from 1 month to the next month and bridge the gap? So I like to leave that all for my beautiful business coaches out there. They do the how. I just want you to start asking yourself, what did I do last month? What do I need to do this month?
So
when it comes to finances?
Money out, money in. I mean,
money out,
that's about
money
as
in.
Simple as it gets, right?
It's about as simple, yeah, because everything else is just harder. It's not rocket science. And I tell people, I actually worked with rocket scientists, and we can make this very complicated. But when it comes to money, it really is very, very simple. Just ask yourself, what did I do? What did I spend? What came in? That's it.
And then cash flow, when people talk about cash flow, and I know those some out there that I'm all about simplifying things and breaking it down. And people say the word cash flow and you're like, I don't know what that means. Like cash flow just simply is tracking the invoices that you've kicked out there to your clients, right? But maybe they haven't paid you yet. So maybe you did the work in this month, but you're not getting the money until next month. Is that a good estimation of how to explain cash flow?
You know what? I love I call it the fancy terms when it comes to the CFOs in our life. And we got revenue, we got cash flow, all these different methods. When people say cash flow, it's tracking. You're right, Mary. It is absolutely just straight up tracking. Like, what did you do? Okay, 5 people didn't pay you. Guess what? We need to flow ourselves into getting them to pay us. Yeah. Yeah. It's all the terms that we hear, everything from CFO to revenue, income, outcome, net, all of these things are just ways of tracking what is going on. And you can use the fancy words if you need to, but I like to keep it very simple. When people say cash flow, it's just like, do you have any cash? Is cash about to flow into your bank account? And if it's not flowing into your bank account, then we have issues right there.
So now explain to me the Jones approach to budgeting, because I heard this at the conference and it really was nice and succinct for me. So let's break it down for our listeners.
So the first thing you all have to realize that my last name is Jones, because I have a business called Keep Up with Mrs. Jones. And it's so funny. People are like, so what's your last name? Like, it's Jones, really? And the other thing is I'm quite lame when it comes to my presentations. I like to make acronyms out of all of my last names, even my maiden name. I even have an accounting thing around my maiden name. That's how lame I am.
Makes it memorable, not lame. It's simple. I know. I love it.
Well, because my brain is simple and I need to be able to remember things. So when it comes to the Jones approach to managing money, and so for everyone, that's J.O.N.E.S, that's Jones. So the J is for jump out of your comfort zone, just like we talked about. Acknowledge that money exists and just get uncomfortable. If you're going to be successful with money, if you're going to be great, if you're going to reach financial freedom, financial independence, whatever you want to call it, you got to get out of your comfort zone and pay attention to the finances. The O is for organize and prioritize your money. And this is the same thing. I like to do this with the 1st and 15th. Just start looking at what's happening. Take your last 3 to 6 months of financial records and just get organized. I mean, that's it. Just look at everything, have a system so that all right, this is what I did spend. This is what I think I'm going to spend. And then these are some things that I need to go away. And I like to say prioritize, because a lot of us pay for things that we don't necessarily need. And it's so funny, Mary, you would like this. I worked with a young lady back in January, and they've been making about $250,000 in their business, and they were estimating at $300,000 for this year. And her issue was, I don't have any money at the end of the year. There's no money in the bank account. We can't even pay taxes. And she was like, I don't know what's happening. I have a budget. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. So I told her about the 1st and 15th. We did some simple things. She sent me an email 2 weeks ago, realized that they were spending over $10,000 of things that they weren't using in their business. Wow. And I was like, wow.
Like subscriptions and software? And
she was like, subscriptions, software, maintenance, things that they just weren't using.
Wow.
And they went through and cut out $10,000. And the other thing she said was, it was actually interesting because nobody else was paying attention to the money. So now her and her husband, all eyes are on the finances. I was like, see, little things that got you there.
So girl, like there is ways to make money even in your own bank account. It's taking that audit. And sometimes we are so out looking out in the other places. It's just taking that audit of your own inwards and incomes and outcomes of your business bank account. There could be money right there for you, right?
That was just the business side. She didn't even get into the personal finance side, because that was where a lot of the money was going.
Wow.
But just the $10,000 right there. I mean, I was just like, okay, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So we talked about the J, which is jump out of your comfort zone. The O is being organized. So now is the N, and just what we were talking about, necessary items only. Get rid of things that you're not using. And I like to tell people we have this way about us. Well, if I paid for it, I'm going to learn how to use it. No, don't do it. If you've been paying for something for 6 months and you're like, I'm going to get to it, Here's the beautiful thing about other business owners. They love to take your money at any time. You can always go back to them, but you can get rid of it for right now. I've seen people who are sitting on those huge, massive CRM projects that cost almost $1,000 a month. And they're like, well, I'm just going to learn. I'm just going to learn. It's like, okay, while you're just gonna, you just spent $5,000.
Yeah.
And we can do so many more fun things with $5,000.
So when we're thinking about things like that, because I think also as business owners, we suffer from bright, shiny object, syndrome. So we like, oh, that'll be the one that'll solve us. Ooh, I'll buy that course. Ooh, I'll do this thing. Ooh, and it's like, ooh. So how do we know what is necessary and what isn't? Do you have a judging point?
You know what? When it comes to business, and I want to make sure that we don't get too far off in something different, or we can, but it really comes down to how you're structuring your business. Look at the priorities, look at what you're working on. And like you said, it is so easy for us to get in bright, shiny object mode. I actually just did a live stream on how I break down my project management. And I have to force myself to do one task at a time. Yeah. Because I'm just like you. I say inherently all business owners are creative. When somebody dangles, I'm like, ooh, I want to go buy that too. But it's like, no, I'm gonna stay focused on this one item. And it really does take a little bit of time. And I'm pretty certain that by listening to future shows of the Simplifiers, there have been tons of people who say, do one thing at a time. And when they say that, they're not lying. They're really telling the truth. Do one thing, set your priority for the one goal or one milestone that you need to focus on. It makes saying no and yes to things financially really, really easy. And the best way the best story I can give you this is like when we're going to a friend's wedding and we're in the wedding and we have to get in a particular dress. It's very funny how when we have 6 months and we want to drop that 5 pounds, we get very focused on what we need to do. We stop eating all of our cookies and ice cream, unfortunately, and we get focused. And so it becomes our priority. So we say no to things like, nope, don't want to eat that. I want to do this. It's the same with money. Yep. When you have your priority, it's so easy to say, you know what? No, I'm not going to get distracted by this thing because I need to finish this one other task first. So it's the easy and hard way to explain necessary items only.
Yeah, love it. All right, E.
The E is for, is for engage. Engage with your finances. And this is where we do the 1st and the 15th. This is where you have to be an active participant in this financial relationship, because it's just like any other relationship. If only one person shows up, guess what? The other person will do whatever they want. Yeah. So we have to engage and use the 1st and the 15th twice a month. And I say, as your budgetologist, I'm literally only asking you for 2 hours a month to look at your money. Yeah. For those of you who are making a ton of money, this is a once a week deal. So we got to really put eyes on it. And just like with my client who found $10,000, more eyes needed to be on the business finances. And that's what the 1st and 15th will force us to do, is to create this system, just like we have our social media marketing systems, we have our back office systems. This is another system that we cannot ignore right now.
Well, and I think what you just said there is worth repeating. I think what stops us is fear. And we go, oh my God, I'm going to need a whole day to figure out my finances. It's just going to be, I've got to block everything off and I'm so busy and blah, 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 blah. Like that's the voice that's in your head. But really, you guys, it's only 1 hour on the 15th, 1 hour on the 1st, right? It isn't
1 hour.
It doesn't have to be this big, huge, scary thing. It just could be, I'm only doing this one thing for 1 hour on the 1st and 15th. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So the S.
The S is for, and I actually want to back up for just like 2 seconds, because you said something that was very interesting. A lot of people say, yeah, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Here's the thing. If you're too busy to pay attention to your finances, you're not going to have a business very long. And we all know the stats. We know how many businesses fail after 5 years, because that's really the true stat, because we will dig into our credit cards and personal finances to keep going.
Yeah, it's something like 90% of businesses fail in the U.S. in the first 5 years. 90%. Yes. So 9 out of 10 businesses kaput, right? It's a big deal. Yeah.
Cash flow, poor financial management, minus your idea probably sucked, but it's the cash flow. And I tell people, I see this all the time. Well, I just don't have time to pay attention to the money. Like, guess what? When you don't pay attention to it, you're going to have a business that fails. You have people that actually steal from you. You're paying for things that you don't need. So if you don't have time for your money, guess what? Your money won't have time for you.
Yeah, truth. Truth. That's a tweetable.
That's a tweetable. Tweet that. So for the S in the Jones method is see the future and stay ahead. I love telling us business owners, we need to stay almost 3 years ahead of what we're doing. Because just like when we get into bright, shiny object syndrome mode, it's very easy to be in the right now. We're planning for right now. And some of us, we're just trying to get through the next day. Like, that's all as far as we can see. We have goals, but they're kind of like, I call them, we pull them out of nowhere goals. But we're really just focusing on tomorrow. And I need all of us to really start paying attention to the future. Do you want financial freedom? Are you trying to pay off debt? Are you trying to build wealth? And if you're not really looking at the future of what's going on, you'll always be going 2 steps back. And so you have to really see what you're doing and actually look at your vision. Like, why are you doing this? And I tell, when I do my talks, I say, you know what? The beautiful thing about business is that we have the ability, the privilege, the option to do it. But we all wake up doing the same thing. We all wake up banging our head against the wall, asking, where's my next client coming from? Who's going to pay me? Why didn't they pay me? So you got to really have a vision for what you're trying to do and make it a solid core foundational vision, because there are going to be days you will want to quit.
Lord knows
and
that.
It's going to be hard. So just see the future and always go back to why you're doing this.
And I think for us, this is something that's definitely been a secret to the Simplifier success, without a doubt, is we preach this and it really works. We set one primary goal per quarter for our business. Like, this is our big thing. All teams know, like, even though we might have smaller projects working on, but we have one primary goal per quarter. But the secret is we also attach a revenue goal to that as well. There's numbers attached to it, not just sort of, I want to grow my following. It's like, I want to grow my following by X number of things, and I want to hit this as our revenue goal, right? Would you also recommend that?
You know what? When I talk about my business goals, I actually, I used to do this thing where I would do 4 things that would move my business forward in the year. 4 things. And it's like 4 big bubbles on a poster, and I stick it on the wall, and I have little revenue goals attached to it.
Great.
And it really is, what do I need to do to move this business forward? Do I need to get out and speak more? Do I need to launch this podcast? Do I need to put systems in place? Because you'd be surprised, having no systems can slow you down. And then I do have little things, my little goals of like, how much money do I need to make this quarter, this month, this year? So you got to have these goals. And I love what you all are doing, having the financial goals, the revenue goals placed on each quarter on what you're doing. And it also helps you to figure out how much is it going to cost. Yeah. That's the other thing a lot of us forget, that every time we do a goal for each quarter, we still got to cost it out and figure out who we need to pay to help move this thing and put it into practice. Because what happens with the bright, shiny object syndrome is that we're scrolling on Facebook and like, oh my gosh, I should buy this. I should buy this. And it takes us off track for what we really need to be doing and really putting the money where we need the help.
Right.
Because for all of us that have spent, I'll give you a stat. In the first 3 years of business, on average, a solo entrepreneur will spend $48,000 to launch a solo business. And that's in the first 3 years. So, and a lot of that $48,000 is toward coaching, courses, seminars, all kinds of things that are great, but can kind of distract us at the same time.
Right.
So just imagine you have your one coach, you have your one mentor, and you take, okay, you give them $10,000. Just say you give them 10,000. You still have another 38,000. Oh my gosh, just imagine what you can do with 38,000 to have one project completed in one quarter.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
Yeah. And I think that it's just so important to think about when you're in a growth quarter, like you're building something, you might be outgoing, spending a lot of money. And this is where it all comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of like, it's maybe a spend month where you have to be really thrifty on the little stuff, the coffees and the meetings and the blah, 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 right? But then, another quarter might be a revenue month where you launch a product and you throw your thing out, your offering out into the world and cash is flowing in. That don't, get too distracted and be like, well, I'm buying another set of like high heels or another purse, or we're going to Tahiti, friends. It's really just gauging that and understanding the flow of it all. Right?
It's so interesting. So I just did a live stream this morning because I get asked this question a lot, which comes first, managing the money or making the money? And I said, unfortunately, as business owners, there is no what comes first. It really is. We're doing things in parallel. And I call it a tango dance. You're going to have to learn how to dance and do it in a nice rhythm so that neither one gets off balance. Because like you said, there will be a quarter where we got to spend to get things done. Yep. And there will be another quarter where we need to bring the money in. So I call it the two sides of the budget, managing it and feeding it. Because if we're not feeding the budget, we have issues. And then it's also this other thing we got to pay attention to is not taking our foot off the brake. Because what happens, or putting our foot on the brake, I may have said that wrong. But what happens is that we get to this point, we start making money, and guess what? We start coasting. All right, I made my $100,000, so I'm good. And I worked with a client who did that. $165,000 their first year in business, $130,000 that next quarter. They took their foot off the gas and started spending money. They bought cars. They started dating. Nothing's wrong with dating, but he was a very generous dater. Started spending money, started hiring people not to even do particular projects, just to hire them. And that quickly, that $100,000 was gone. Yeah. So we are in a very delicate balance as a business owner where we have to do a lot of things in parallel, and that feeding the budget and managing the budget, got to do it at the same time. So it's not a what comes first. Yeah, it's happening concurrently. And bottom line is you got to go out and make some money, right? You got to make some sales. I love when I tell people that, and I'll just give you a little secret that happened to me. I actually got fired for that with a client because they hired me as their virtual CFO, and I was like, well, we did the budget and we took everything off, we skimmed down as much as we could, and I said, you got to actually go make money. If you refuse to change your spending, the rest of your spending, you got to go make more money. Yeah. And they were not happy with that. So, and I've started learning when people talk to me about the budgeting stuff, and it happened in the UK. I had one gentleman, he literally gave me his entire money management plan, which was hilarious. And he was like, well, I'm going down to minimalism. I'm not spending this. And I said, you know what? I'm going to tell you something that you do not want to hear. You're going to hate me for it, and you're going to walk away from me. I said, you got to go out and make some money. Yeah. There's nothing else you can do. You got to go out and make some money. We can get rid of everything, but you still got to function. Yeah. So go do the thing that we don't want to do, because that's the thing with the budgeting. A lot of us can start hiding in this budget way too long and avoiding what we really need to be doing, and that is making some money sometimes. Yeah. So tell us more about how we manage our salary. Like you mentioned, on your blog and in your live streams that it's really, really important to give yourself a salary as a solopreneur, no matter what. Why is that so important? I don't get it. Because it's so important, because it's like a system in anything else we're doing. And there are many reasons why, but I like to hit home on the personal life. There are people at home who are championing you, supporting you. I like to say there are cats and dogs that need to be fed. My cat didn't. My dog, I don't know, she doesn't talk, but I see this look in her eye that says, I did not give up my expensive kibble just so that you can run a business. So you need to make that work. So there are a lot of people who are supporting us. We still have bills to pay. We still have to pay our mortgage, our rent. And a salary really is just a marker just to kind of let everybody else know that, okay, this is not an expensive hobby. And you're not pulling money for the credit card just for the sake of fun.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of let people know. I call those are your investors. The people at your home are your investors, and you got to throw them a little bit of something just to let them know that the business is doing well. And also, it just helps you to know that you are reaching your markers. And, it's nice to give yourself a salary.
Yeah.
It's so nice. $5, I don't care. The 1st and 15th, I always say, pay yourself. It's payday.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's $5, $10. Eventually get up to what your home needs to survive, but just put that system into place right now.
Yeah, love it. And of course, have your business finances over here and your personal finances over there. And when I say that, I mean 2 separate business banking accounts, right?
Yes. And this is, I forget that I always lean on the fact that everybody is separating their business and personal finances. So when I talk to people, I nod. Everything is separate, right? And they kind of nod. Yeah. I was like, yes. Yeah. So everything needs to be separate. Separate your business life from your personal life. There are great motivational reasons, so that you can give yourself a salary. But here's the thing. Your accountant, your bookkeeper, they will love you for doing this. It makes their job a lot easier, and they don't have to get very creative when it comes to accounting.
Yeah.
Because accountants can do that, and we don't want them to get too creative all the time.
Oh, and it's just a mess to try to do your taxes if you're trying to sort through a big old pile of shoebox of receipts, and you don't know if this was me going out for a latte with my friends or me going out for a latte with a vendor. It's just, you gotta do it. If you're listening at home, No shame, no tea, just do the thing, right?
Just do the thing. And the other thing that happens, what happens with my clients, with all the clients I've worked with, they start pulling money from the business just to take care of life. And that's where it becomes really messy at tax time, because we don't know why. It's like Mary, I don't know why you came in and pulled $3,000 out of the business. So now we need to kind of create a reason why $3,000 had to go into your personal account. And now it's a salary. And so now you're taking a salary. You may not realize it, but you are. We just need to make it legal, because going to tax jail, I don't know if that's real or not, but it just doesn't sound fun. Yeah. So let's not do it.
Yeah, not do it. So tell us a little bit about how a budget can actually give us power in making good business decisions.
I call it the secret confidence mode. It is for you. I say for all my ladies we pull on our big girl pants, we put on our stilettos, and we just own what we're doing. And so for you men out there, if you like stilettos, whatever, I don't judge. But it really is the ability to be fully in control of your business. Yeah. And if you ever find yourself hitting walls in your business or challenges, you'll sometimes realize that you're forgetting to address one thing. And a lot of it for many of us is the financial piece. We got our marketing down. Some of us know how to make money, at the drop of a hat. We know how to talk to people, launch a podcast. We know how to launch our butts off. But sometimes that money piece is that last little thing, And I just say it's one of the reasons, if you want to be fully in control, confident, and really be successful and be happy with what you're doing in business, you got to start paying attention to this money side. You have to.
And I think sometimes entrepreneurs, both male and female, I'll be honest, because I've worked with lots of clients who get nervous about invoicing their clients, or, somebody hasn't paid a bill and they're like, oh, I don't want to offend them, or, oh, maybe they're having and it's like, girl, this is a business. You have to invoice. It's past due. You stop services if you don't get the money. Do you have any advice for that person?
Oh, that is such a hard one. This is where we have to go back to the money mindset and how we grew up with money. If we want to get into that side of it, you got to look at all the stories that you're telling yourself in your head and realize that they are not true. I like to call the brute force method, it's a business. This is how you survive. If they don't pay you, guess what? You're probably going to go out of business, and you're probably not going to give yourself a salary. And there are going to be people and cats and dogs at home that are going to be mad at you. So you got to own this part of the business. This is a part of business. Yep. And for those who absolutely cannot bring themselves to call someone to get the money that they are owed, remember, this is your money. I always say hire it out. There are some people who love making these phone calls for you. So just hire it out. You'd be surprised that your accountant or your bookkeeper may provide a service like this because they have no emotional attachment to calling to someone and saying, hey, you owe us $500.
Yes. So I'm going to put a note down in the show notes below. I can't remember the exact name of it today, but I'll make a note. There is some genius business I found online a couple of weeks ago of this woman who's a virtual assistant somewhere in the US, and it's like Ask Teresa or something like that. And like literally, she is your personal collections agency. So you hire her for a set number of hours, and I think she takes a cut of whatever she collects, and she acts as your account services department of your company. It's like, hi, this is Teresa, and you're past due on blah, 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 blah. So we're going to work and process. I'm like, she is your girl, right? And I was like, oh my God, what a genius.
Love it. So, you know what, for everyone, if you refuse, if this is something that just, that gets you stressed out, hire somebody to do it. Just hire.
Yes.
It's worth the money.
Yeah. And do it. And it's part of running a business, bottom line.
It is.
So we've got to wrap up here, sadly, but I want to ask you a few questions that I always ask all people on the Simplifiers podcast. And by the way, thank you so much. I mean, I think it's so nice to break it all down in simple terms, girlfriend to girlfriend, and talk about this stuff, because this is how we diffuse the power that it has over us of being so scared about budgeting and money and all of this. So thank you for being here and doing this. So I want to ask you, okay, we've learned the Jones technique, and this is fantastic. People are going to start doing that. What are some, other tips or tricks that they can start with now? I know you're a big believer in Post-it notes. What can we do to help just get ourselves going beyond that?
You know what? One of the things that I like to do, I don't budget with spreadsheets. I actually do, but when I meet my creatives and I know instantly that a spreadsheet will make them run and cry, I actually like to pull out the color pencils, the Post-its, and just get a sheet of paper. And I say, you know what? Let's get on the wall. I love my hot pink Post-its, and I represent that as spending. And I want you to just write on a Post-it everything that we're spending. That's it. One Post-it. All right, here's what I spend on candy each week. Oh, okay. I'll stick it on the wall. Or here's how much I pay for my cell phone bill. Just start putting your expenditures on a little Post-it and stick it on the wall. I also love for us to just stand up and get into this. Yeah. And I like the reason why we put it on the wall is because you can't run away from it. You can't run away from all these little Post-its, and put it somewhere like in your kitchen so you have to see it. So I like to say put all of the spending on little Post-it notes and just start sticking it on the wall. That's where we can start getting organized. That's where we start prioritizing. And that's probably for a lot of us the very first time we start seeing what we're actually doing. Yeah. Not making it up, not pretend budgeting, but what we're actually spending our money on.
So pink is spending. What other colors are we putting up on the wall?
I like blue for savings.
Yeah.
Because that hits a sore point for a lot of people, because when we compare those blue Post-it notes to the number of pink Post-it notes, it can get very emotional really quickly. Yeah. And I also like to use yellow. Yellow is for people we owe money to.
Okay. Debts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the debt. I call it other people's money. So you get those yellow Post-its, and we start looking at who, if we owe grandma some money, put it up there, because grandma wants her money back. Just like the credit card company wants their money back, or the loan company. So we use the yellow for everyone, use the colors that are fun for you. I just like to keep it colorful, but I like the yellow for what we, for the debt. I like the hot pink for the spending. I like the blue for the savings, and of course, green for what's coming in.
Yeah, love it. And another thing that we've started to do in our cash flow forecasting as well, and it may seem a little silly to people, especially if you're like, oh, I can barely pay myself, is actually we've added another line item in that. So I love pink, blue, and yellow, but another one that's green that is how much money are we going to give away? Who are we, like a nonprofit, a charity, or a organization that we really believe in? And I'm a big believer in abundance versus scarcity. So what if, even if it was $20, 20 pounds, whatever, you gave away this month to a charity you believe in? You never know. It might just come back to you in twofold, tenfold even.
I love doing that. I definitely do it in my personal life where I actually set a percentage or a fixed amount depending on what's happening that year. If my husband wants to do sailing lessons or not. But that's how much money I give. And what I do throughout the years, I actually find really cool organizations to give it to.
Love it.
And it's actually kind of fun. I give to some really big charities. There's a young lady who takes police officers who have passed away. She takes their uniform and turns them into teddy bears and give them back to the kids.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Heartbreaking. So yes, I gave just here's the check, whatever you need.
Yeah.
And then I have other organizations where they buy passports for young ladies to go see the world. So it's kind of fun when you do get ahead of your money, you can go do fun stuff like that. And you really don't understand how fun it is to give money away until you have money to give away.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's the secret here is that you got to flip the script, right? You got to make money and budgeting and all this stuff less scary and more fun, right? And that's where the momentum comes from, right?
You got to make it fun. Because we got to get rid of the shame factor of it. And also, I know a lot of us, we may not be in business for money's sake, but a lot of us want to change communities and change the world. And guess what? The $5 a day may get you there. But what happens if you get ahead of your money and you can actually put $50,000 towards something?
Yeah.
That would make you it would be so much fun. So I always say, get your money in order so that you can give it all away.
Yeah.
Duh.
Brilliant. What's maybe some good apps or tools that would help us simplify here? We use Xero for our bookkeeping software. We've used QuickBooks in the past. Do you have any recommendations?
Actually, it depends. For me, all of those things are almost the same. It's going to take a little bit of time. I like Mint for personal finances. I've been using Mint for ever. I currently use QuickBooks. They can be a little challenging at times.
Yeah.
I will say this, for those of you who are newbies, or this is your first time really paying attention to the money, I go old school, pen and paper and Post-its.
Okay.
It's the best way because you need to train yourself in the system before you go and learn something new. And I really don't want people to get too distracted because a lot of people, unless you know how to use QuickBooks or Xero or all these things, I don't want you to take that brain power learning a new program. And learning the program versus I need you to learn your money first.
Yeah.
When you learn your money, then you can make these programs behave the way you want them to behave.
Brilliant. Now, is there any books or maybe one book or maybe a blog that you're reading right now that's inspiring you or on the flip side, maybe poking at you and challenging you a bit?
Oh my gosh. I'm currently, I don't know. So I'm listening to an audiobook. Does that count as reading?
Yes.
I still don't know. I call it cheating. I feel so bad when I say it out loud because I'm cheating. But I'm listening to The One Thing. Oh my gosh, I forget the author's name. So I will go and find it. But it's The One Thing. And it really is about how you go and do one thing and focus on it. And it's one of those things that but it does challenge you at the exact same time of, are you seriously going to do this one thing or are you just going to pretend? And finding that one thing and actually putting at least 4 hours to it. Yeah. It's, I like it. So
that's the book that's Gary Keller, right?
Yes, Gary Keller. Jay Pappison and Gary Keller.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll put a link down in the show notes for you guys. The One Thing, it's a brilliant book. Really good. Really, really good.
It really is good. And it does force you. And my secondary book is The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins.
Excellent. Yes.
Yes. I love that.
The 5-second rule, for anyone that isn't familiar with that, is where she says, if you're about to do something super big and scary in your life, whatever it might be, just count down like a rocket ship, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then blast off, and then that's it. Go do the thing. Yeah. Genius. So, Phylecia, now that you know more about the Simplifiers podcast and have actually been a guest now on the podcast, tell us, who is one person in your circle of people that you know in your network that we should interview on the Simplifiers podcast and why? Somebody that can simplify something for us.
Oh my gosh, that's the hardest question of every question ever because I know so many amazing people. And I guess you can't interview yourself.
It could be just business or it could be in life. Like if you know somebody that's killing it in lifestyle or whatever, who comes to mind?
You know what? Who I actually like, and I'm part of his community, is Mark Asquith, and he was on the stage with me over in the UK, and I like how he has simplified the personal branding.
Mm-hmm.
It is fascinating, and it is. And his thing is, stop doing all these other things and actually have people get to know you. And he's taking that and doing that on Instagram. Just these little weird stories. I mean, they are kind of weird. Yeah. He talks about his comic books, and you go meet his grandma and his dog, Pete. But it really is that thing of, his thing is, stop building relationships and start building friendships.
Love it.
But in order to do that, you got to get people to know you first. So Mark Asquith over at excellence-expected.com. Very fascinating guy. I love watching how he is, I don't know if it's innovating or reshaping the personal brand idea.
Love it. Well, we'll have him on the podcast without a doubt.
Yay.
So we believe gratitude and simplicity go hand in hand. Tell me, what are you grateful for right now in your life?
Oh, man, you're going to make me cry now. You know what? It's going to be one of those weird things, but I'm actually grateful to be living and grateful to experience all the people and places that I meet and meeting you, being here on this podcast. 2017 was a very interesting year for me. Unfortunately, I had friends who passed away. I had mentors. It was the craziest year. I was under 40. I'm 40 now, but it was one of those things of, you know what, I'm getting to that age. And if I'm starting to see that people are leaving me and leaving this earth, then I need to simplify my life, appreciate everyone around me, and just appreciate the experiences of just meeting people. And I'm one of those, I'm kind of in a mode right now of, I kind of say yes to a lot of things because I think it's the beauty of creating these opportunities and just meeting fascinating people and just getting out of my comfort zone. So I'm just grateful for all the people that I know. I'm on a thank you note binge right now. So I try to send out these little love notes and little love texts like, oh my gosh, I love you. You're amazing. How are you doing? So just kind of reaching out to people and just reminding folks that we're all humans.
Yeah.
Business is beautiful, but we still are humans. And some of us, sometimes just that little text message just saying, hey, how are you doing? Is just enough. So I just love being alive right now and just experiencing and having friends. And I love happy hour. So there you go.
See, I told you, you and I are kindred spirits. I got your handwritten note in the mail a couple of weeks ago, and it touches my heart. I love to send letters in the mail. So you and I, we're soul sisters from many moons ago. So where can people find you online? Where do you hang out the most?
Oh, I'm in all the internets of places. You can find me over at keepupwithmrsjones.com. I also live stream every morning at 7:45 a.m. Mountain Time. Mm-hmm. If you have no idea where Mountain Time is, just Google it. People in Mountain Time have no idea where it is. So 7:45 a.m. Mountain Time over on Facebook.com/Keep Up with Mrs. Jones. If you have any questions, if you want to just hang out and see what kind of craziness is going on, you can just join me. I also give some behind the scenes of how I'm doing things. And I talk a lot about money, a lot about money.
Brilliant. And you are also giving our listeners a freebie today, the 1st and the 15th guide. So you guys can download that at keepupwithmrsjones.com/1st and 15. So click on the link down in the show notes and you can access that as well. So thank you so much for giving us that.
Oh, thank you. It's going to be fun. You can manage your money in 2 hours or less. Do it.
It's going to be fun, you guys. And everybody's in there going, oh, God, I don't know if it's going to be fun. No, it's going to be fun. Like Girl Scout honor, we promise. Do the thing. It'll be fun. So my last question for you today, Phylecia, and again, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and all of that. And I know that you have inspired many, many people out there that are listening to this podcast today. Now, let's just take one girl. She's on the cardio machine at the gym. She is laughing alongside us, but also shedding a bit of a tear because she's going, oh my God, they know me. They know me. I am freaking out about my finances. I don't know how I can do all this. And she is thinking to herself, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what Phylicia's saying. I'm going to try this 1st and 15th thing. I'm going to dive into it. If you could whisper one encouraging word into her ear right now to boost her confidence, what would you say to her?
You know what? I would do it's the simple thing. You got this. You got this and you can do this. And it is time for you to own it. Throw your stake in the sand and stop wimping around and just go and do the thing. I'm a big Beyonce fan. Girls rule the world. And you can do this. Let's go rule the world. Why not?
Phylecia Jones, thank you so much for being on the Simplifiers podcast today.
Thank you so very much for having me, Mary. This was fun.